Hello, everyone! Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Daily Brief Recap. Actually, I talked for almost 2 hours on the Daily Brief today. Oops. So, we did actually have a nice report from TRI CTO today, Sjord, updating us on all the fun candy. Hey, look at that, we're live on YouTube. I can tell you, man, this candy is super yummy. Man, I almost feel talked out. I don't know whether I can do this for you guys, but I'll just do a very quick report here for you freers. Bread, pretty much market is washed out. You can see most of these sectors are pretty washed out. I would be really surprised to see too much more selling here in the short term. And if anything, we have a U.S. presidential debate coming up tomorrow, and I get the impression that actually they're using this opportunity to clean up a lot of the sort of oversoldness in the marketplace. On the mornings, on the morning basis, I load up this little matrix here just to sort of get our day going. And what I see is, you can see I've zoomed out on these 30-minute charts. This, stock indexes, they've just gone straight up here. And that usually is the hallmark of just face rip short covering rally. I think you can also see it to a certain degree on the commodities as well. Kind of felt like maybe silver got a little overdone. We did hit a bearish objective there. And the gold here, I think, actually set up a really nice horizontal support and resistance long idea. Looking for a 50% bounce of its recent sell-off range as the U.S. dollar. Let's put that away. As the U.S. dollar works its way back down into support. And you can see I was talking about that with the kids here today. So I don't know whether I believe that the market has sort of started to trend higher, but I will say that I've actually been doing some buying over the past week or two in the stock market, and I haven't had anything really break down in earnest. Came really close, but nothing really crapped out too hard. And now it seems, with a bit of a bid in the market, I mean, the Dow's up like 500, 600 points on the day. It feels as though market's trying to work its way back up again off of those lows. For the purposes of your presentation here, I like to keep the conversation relatively limited to. As we sort of said, risk on, risk off. Do have that presidential debate coming up tomorrow night. Is there a bit of position squaring here ahead of that? Could be. Same thing with the stock market. We came off precipitously through this dump. Could be a bit of position squaring. You can see the fractal on the price charts. Fascinating to see the oil market. Technically, we're still short off the top here and just sitting there doing nothing. A little bit of an up day for him. And considering the way the gold market is trying to come back here, I actually wouldn't be surprised to see the oil market a bit softer. And the bonds are just sort of sitting there again, narrow sideways channel, just parked. And I'm leaning towards the idea that this is a massive long-term, like 70-year cycle pivot on the bond market. But it's probably going to take a good couple years for us to turn the corner here. So I'm not really in a huge hurry, but I will say once we get beyond this COVID stuff, all this 0% short-term interest rate liquidities, Fed diluting the crap out of the U.S. dollar and basically creating price inflation. We're setting the stage. You can just see it. We're setting the stage for the interest rate market to slowly turn. And once the baby boomers are completely gone, and that's an old story, and they're way off in retirement, and the millennials have taken over, and they're starting to get into their sort of peak earnings years and all that kind of stuff, then we probably are just going to have to get used to actually a rising interest rate market for the next 20, 30 years. Fun, party. But for now, we're in COVID park mode. I think that's actually not a bad way to describe this market state. They often say that fundamentals often get really clouded when we inject a whole bunch of volatility and uncertainty into the market, and these planetary conjuncts and all that kind of stuff. Tons and tons of uncertainty. I'm hearing a lot of sort of very normal, classic economic models are just going right out the window, and people are just, governments are saying, hey, we can spend as much money as we want. There's no repercussions. There will be repercussions, I guarantee you. There will be a day of reckoning. Absolutely guarantee you. It's just not today, and don't look for that day of reckoning right in the middle of the crisis. As long as people are still freaking out about COVID, we're not going to have that day of reckoning. And the powers that be will just keep spoon feeding the market more money just to keep the fugazi going. Once we get talk of that COVID vaccines and normalization of interest rate policy, then all of these markets will start cleaning themselves up. So with all that said, it's very hard, and I've said this to you repeatedly over the past 6 months, and I'll probably say it over the next 6 months to come. Very, very difficult to really come up with discernible trends other than we're at the very end of a very long fear cycle. Fear-based proxies should do well through this cycle. The problem is, do you really want to go and load up on new investment ideas going through these cycles? You might find in 2 or 3 years from now, US dollars trending violently higher. The commodities markets are all trending violently lower, and your gold that you thought was such a great investment here is basically within a context of a 15, 20-year bear market. That's exactly what I'm expecting. We'll see what happens. Short term, actually, I was quite pleased to see things like, you can see our little Russell 2000 versus the Dow. There's a bit of an appetite for risk assets coming back into the market, so that's encouraging. As I said, we got stocks up. That should be a risk on. We got the US dollar index coming down. That's risk on. Bonds coming down. That's risk on. Gold moving up. Is gold in kind of this funny, almost schizophrenic kind of environment right now? I think so. I do like the idea of a counter trend rally dead cat bounce here on the gold. It's just for us to be thinking about this thing trending higher in earnest going forward. I think because we broke this key low from back here in earnest, that's a few days that we actually closed below there. Because of that, this is going to take some time to clean up. So new sort of major trending higher signals. Interestingly enough, I actually think that the bought entry level of those trending higher signals is the short-term price objective on this dead cat bounce. So you see the 50% level. That's what, dead cat bounce. That's what we should expect as technicians, just normally. And that would be a move against all these highs, professional short against highs, blah, blah, blah. And I guess if I was thinking trending, what I really want to see, of course, you know me, one lower high, higher low, second higher low, third higher low, and then, okay, I can start rocking and rolling. But because this was a new low here, this is going to take some time to develop. That's basically what I see. And I also think, too, that, like I said, it feels as though kind of like we're heading into this U.S. presidential debate. Mr. Trump, he's running out of windows to sort of recapture the American imagination. I think this is one of his last shots. And my message to the community today was, I believe that if he articulates two messages very clearly, he's got a shot. First message is, if you vote for Mr. Biden, it's a guarantee your taxes are going to go up. That can be a pretty damn compelling voting booth motivator. He should really drive that home hard. Then the second thing, it's a little bit tertiary, but I think it's doable, is Mr. Trump has to send the message, if you vote for Mr. Biden, that is a vote for China. If he can articulate those two messages, I think he's got a shot. And he just has to sort of forget about the past 4 years and everything that he's done and just say, look, you vote for Biden, China, taxes. We'll see how it goes. The last thing in the world I would do is count Donald Trump out. Who knows? He might pull a rabbit out of his hat. I mean, and interestingly enough, with Mr. Biden, actually, he's got everything to lose here. Teeth fall out. A little bit of senility comes into an answer. He stumbles. And he's got problems. So interestingly enough, and this is how I told the site members today, this debate here, it is Donald Trump's to win and Joe Biden's to lose. We'll see how it goes. And I get the impression today is all about just sort of position squaring. Serious traders are like, look why don't I just take some money off the table right now ahead of this event just in case there's some crazy surprise. So we'll see how it goes. As for the corn itself, I get the impression, especially when we look at something like this profile, that there's a bit of unfinished business here. So I get the impression that they're just sort of cleaning this chart up. You can see our little heart that we put there days ago. So market's pretty much bounded. I think as I'm saying, I'll give it 12 G's to the upside. And let's say, a 10 G's on the downside with just sort of, panic dumps below 10 G's. And here we are just sort of playing ping pong between these two nodes, and I think that continues. And again, anybody who was short, I get the impression a little bit of short covering rally, especially heading into this event tomorrow night, because you don't know what the hell's going to happen. Anything could happen in this crazy world. I also like the idea, too, of an underside kiss of this original market structure failure. And you can see the clotheslines were actually up in this area. Never did get up into there. So believe it or not, I actually do like a push on the corn up top here. So we'll see how that goes. And so far, so good. Is this a trade? And this is exactly what I said through the weekend. I mean, I can't really do anything here. We could go either way, no problem. Now that we have sort of higher highs and higher lows, it does look to me like the push up top is for real. But, once we get up into this area, I'd be very careful, especially if the debate happens and really nothing surprising comes out of it. The pool numbers don't shift. I wouldn't be surprised we roll back over. But it's not now. We will cross that bridge when we come to it. Poop coins, same sort of thing. It feels kind of like dead cat bouncy. We're following things like the DeFi indexes closely here because that seems to be sort of like the popular product du jour, which to a certain degree is also a conversation about Ethereum. In the short term, again, kind of no man's land. We could easily come back down against bottom range. We could easily come back up against these highs. So right here, right now, there's nothing for me to do. And then, like on the site, of course, the, I don't know where the hell I put it. I guess we got a bunch of these DeFi names that we're sort of watching, and I've been talking in the public videos about these. And these cute little W's are trying to come in on some of these names. Move stop to scratch. You can see that got blown out, so a good idea to hop off. Look at that cute little W on this dot. Pretty good trade. Traders got to trade. W's are damn powerful. And then if we look at this whole index unto itself, it's still feeling like it's dead cat bouncy, like then bowing. And we have a rule that really we can't even decide if this down move is even over yet until 38.2 has been resolved, and you can see that's also off at 200 period moving average here. Or maybe that's 30 period. I'm not quite sure. So again, is there a trade to do right here? Not really. We could easily dump back down against these lows. We could easily rally back up against this resistance high. No problem. And I get the feeling as well, anybody who was short, especially short in size, like, tens, hundreds of millions of dollars, are you really going to take too big of a bet ahead of that debate? I think there's a lot of just position squaring going on right now. I don't know whether, DeFi actually gets any of those kind of serious dollars, but the general tone, the feel for the market, the tide is kind of like, let's take shorts off the table, square up a little bit. In that vacuum, you could see little shit coins and stuff like that work their way back up, kind of stuff. And that's that's sort of what I see. Now we're on the other side of this trend line, and we're starting to get bullish divergences, and we're starting to get these bearish divs playing themselves out. If we actually do start carving out some bullish structure on the other side of this trend line, probably wouldn't want to see that. Let's have a nice textbook EW, please, Brian. And we probably start thinking about uppies here, but we're still probably a little bit early for that. So. All right, that's your market summary. Let's see how these debates play out. My hunch is report tomorrow is probably going to be somewhat the same. And then we should see some fireworks probably Wednesday morning coming off the other side of that debate. So. All right, everybody, have yourselves a great day. All the best, and bye for now.